Identity diversity, obviously influences how we think. But the thing is, you don't directly apply your identity. So you don't apply your gender to a problem. But what happens is, your gender, your sexual orientation, your race may affect how you think about something, how you've experienced something, the categories you use, the models you apply, the inferences you make. And then those things affect how you solve problems. So it's a vague question, right? How does someone's identity lead you to, better solutions? Well, it depends on exactly what the nature of the problem is. When I think about diversity, I think about cognitive diversity. I think about differences in how people think about the world, how they solve problems. So I think about different representations you might have, different categories you might apply, different sort of mental models, causal models, analogies, heuristics, rules of thumb, those sorts of things. And so I call that cognitive diversity. And what I do is I sort of show in the book how that leads to better outcomes. And then I also sort of think a lot about how is it that identity diversity, who we are, race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, ethnicity, physical abilities, those sorts of things translate into these cognitive differences. So let's suppose that we're looking at sort of uptake on a drug protocol, for instance, right? So we have a particular regimen that you're supposed to follow in order to sort of taking medication, exercise, diet, all these sorts of things in order to, hope you're gonna have efficacy of that regimen, right? Well, the thing is, if I'm coming at that and I'm someone who came from a high-income background, with no religious practices of any sort, right? So, there's no periods of fasting, there's no periods where I don't eat meat, or Fridays I eat fish, or no lack of public transportation to get to the pharmacy, any of these things, I might think, oh, this is a perfectly reasonable protocol and anybody can follow this, I don't see any problems. Whereas if I come from a different community, right, and I'm aware of, possibly lack of access, lack of transportation, different religious practices, different sort of diet even, right, like, what we might eat, then I might realize, well, there's a problem with this person following that particular regimen or protocol. I think maybe the more compelling example, though, is suppose I have a patient coming in, they're presenting in a particular way, and I want to ask, what might have caused this? What, is this, purely a physiological thing? Is there some interaction between what your behaviors might be and, what the symptoms that are presenting in that moment? Having a different understanding of what questions to ask, what are the set of possible things that might matter. I think, again, we each live a sort of narrow life in our own way, right? And so having a diversity of people and a diversity of understandings of how people do live and construct their lives is just going to make you better able to understand, what might be a cause or what might be an interaction effect in terms of this particular presentation of symptoms. My name is Scott Page. I'm a professor of complex systems, political science, and economics at the University of Michigan.